All right.
And okay, we are now recording. Yeah, there's a little icon up in the top left that says recording. And when your presentation's done, I'll stop recording. Okay.
Yeah, and if you guys, while we're chatting away, if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to leave them in the chat or just save them for the end, and hopefully we can answer some specific questions you guys might have. But yeah, Sierra, I'll start here.
Okay, so we are Billy, Sierra, and our dog Jetty, and we are Tula's Endless Summer. We have been living on boats for the past like 6 years now.
7, yeah.
And we started on a monohull sailboat, then we went to a trawler, then a catamaran. And once you go cat, you never go back. So we are in the process of waiting for our brand new Seawind. And in the meantime, they are letting us borrow this Corsair 880 hull number 2. And it's been amazing. And do you want to go on a little bit about where we're going?
Yeah, so since this is a multi-hull group, just to give you a little background on our cat that we still own now, that's for sale. It's a Crowther Spindrift 40, 1988, and yeah, we've been on her for 3 years, and she's up in Stewart right now. So we're getting a Seawind 1160 light, and yeah, like Sierra said, in the meantime, we're sailing and traveling around with this 880. So back in October, I believe, we were up in Wareham, Massachusetts with the multi-hull source, and they commissioned the boat, hull number 2, which is a standard version. And this is our first time ever on a Trimaran, so we don't have much experience with Corsairs other than the past few months. So yeah, it's been a great learning process. But yeah, Bob and Ira have been amazing, helping us learn the boat and Trimarans and Corsairs in general. And since Wareham, we stopped over in Newport and we visited some friends, and it was our first time kind of setting up the boat, launching it on our own, and sailing it on our own pretty much. And I guess we kind of just have some short video clips prepared, just fun little stuff to help portray what we're talking about along the way here. So we'll play a little video clip we have prepared for just our fun time in Newport in, I think it was like late November or so.
We got really lucky with the weather. It was really warm. We had lots of great friends that we took out sailing, and it was their first time ever on a trimaran as well. They live aboard on their monohull, so they had a lot of fun. And let us know if you can see our screen.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, perfect.
So hopefully. Does that look clear to you guys?
Yeah. Yeah, looks great.
All right, so it's just a minute long here.
Not the time. Don't sell right now, drink.
Yeah, you're like, I don't need to go back.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so
Right now. That's not the time. Don't sell right now, drink.
Yeah, you're like, I don't need to go back.
And that's the only bolt I found.
Storm is coming, but I'm prepared. I've been gone for a while, but don't be scared. Right now, I don't know if I'll ever arrive. When the grass is green, we're still alive. I hope I'll see you on the other side.
We may not need to be that organized.
So could you guys hear and see that pretty well?
Otherwise, it's just a box of chaos.
Yeah, I sure could.
We could hear and see it. The video is kind of jerky, but that's typical for Zoom. But it's still nice to see.
Yeah, it's great footage. Great footage. Were you flying a drone yourself while sailing?
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of practice.
Billy is a master drone flyer while under sail.
We've only lost one so far.
Just one, huh? God.
So after Newport, we went and stopped in Long Island and took all of Billy's family sailing, and then from there we trailered the boat all the way down to Florida. And in Florida, we've been doing lots and lots of fun stuff, getting back into like boat life, and we have gone surfing, we have gone foiling behind the Trimaran, which is crazy. We didn't know if it was possible, but it was. And do you want to show that?
Well, yeah, we'll show you guys a little video here we have of just setting the boat up here in Stewart. First.
What did you say the other one was?
5/16.
These are bigger. These are different size than 5/16.
Yeah, they're small.
First share.
And bigger frame. The other boxes get bigger and bigger.
Okay.
With possible things get short.
Nothing. These are boxes are full enough. That I just give them that separate.
Before I move, there's go into the little washer.
Yeah, I think there's.
So we did do one thing wrong there. We actually had the halyard a little too far down, so it rode onto the rail when we pulled up mast in that clip. But usually we have that a bit higher, so we don't have that problem. And we usually have that furler in front of the beam as well. But yeah, that's just kind of a little preview of when we set the boat up to put it in the water. But yeah, like Sarah said, we've been having a ton of fun with it here in Florida. We've just started kind of doing some overnights on it. We did one in Wareham, Massachusetts, but here in Florida we did a couple, and now we're getting ready to take the boat on the Florida loop. So we're going to go west from Stewart across the
Lake
waterway in Lake Okeechobee, and then down the west coast of Florida around the Keys and back up the East Coast. We're going to just try to take our time and enjoy cruising the boat for a bit. So that'll be really interesting to see how the boat is living on full time for like a few weeks. It's a smaller boat, but I think we'll be able to do it for sure. It's gonna be really interesting to see what that experience is like. But yeah, like Sarah said, we had a ton of fun with it. So we want to show you a clip that we put together from just a few days of sailing the boat down to one of our favorite anchorages where there's some surf on the other side of the barrier island, and just having a good time there. So screen share here.
And are these videos working for you guys, or are they so jerky that you can't really see them? Let us know, because if not, we'll just stop and we'll just keep talking.
We could see them. Where am I off here?
We're a bit used to the jerkiness of the videos. That just kind of comes hand in hand with this, but certainly entertaining.
Mine comes across as stop action still shots.
Yeah, like a slideshow. Almost.
Dang.
Oh, bummer.
We'll probably on YouTube. If you put links on it, we can see it there.
Okay. Well, much of this footage is on our YouTube channel, so if you guys get a chance, feel free to check that out. Just kind of clips that someone's is on, and but yeah, if you guys want to see more of this, it's always on our YouTube channel. There's a kind of short clip taken from all of that. But here's a little bit of that surfing scene.
We are taking Trimaran over to where there's supposed to be really, really, really good waves.
No, I just was trying to read.
Ready?
The little boxes that could fit in here, I left it in here. So
Yeah.
they could fit. Dun, dun, dun. Find anything in there.
Well, I like to show this. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
So I like to show this video because, like I said, this is one of our favorite anchorages in this area, and generally we're anchored out here with the rest of the boats. But with the shallow draft of the 880, we were able to kind of get all the way through here and tuck back and get into this little cove here. It was a cold front coming through, so it was a blistery 55 degrees, and we tucked back out of the wind over here. But just kind of taught us, where we can get with this boat, by pulling the boards up and tucking back into some more shallow water.
I'm
So.
looking at the ceiling.
I never have the video on anyway.
Oh, okay.
So let's have that. And then, cool. Oh. So then, yeah, one of the other most recent things we've done with this boat is it's been my dream to try to surf behind a boat, a sailboat or wakeboard behind it or whatever. And now with foiling and the foiling technology that's out there, we're able to get up on foil at low speeds and not cause a ton of drag behind a boat. And this Trimaran was perfect to attempt to foil on tow ropes behind it. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen like foil boards before, but we got together with some of our professional kiteboard friends and some other one of our other sailing buddies, and we were able to go out in the ocean and try some foiling behind the Trimaran, and it worked out amazing. So just share that with you here real quick.
Today we're doing something very, very different, and I think you're gonna like it. Jetty wants to make an appearance. Shh, be quiet.
Well,
Hey, chill.
Did you luff the boat to get going? How did you get going on the foil? Because again,
Sorry,
I didn't,
what was that?
how did you get going? Did you have to luff the boat for a while you get set up to?
Yeah. We kind of, the person on the foil board was in the water, and we kind of steered the boat in front of them and then just luffed up right in front of them. And then that was a perfect amount of time as the boat turned off and started to accelerate and pick up speed. That was like pretty good timing for the person on the foil to be able to get set, stand up on the board, and then get comfortable as they got up on foil. It was a pretty light wind day, but in the afternoon it turned on just a bit, enough to do it and maneuver the boat as we pleased and everything. I think the boat only got up to maybe 8 knots or so that day, but yeah, it was perfect for what we were trying to do. So since then we prepared for the Fort Lauderdale to Key West race, which just happened 2 weeks ago, basically. And, we had a lot of help getting equipment. Steve Marsh from Finish Line down here, he let us borrow a bunch of gear. and a bunch of our friends. And so yeah, there was a lot to get ready for that race because they consider an offshore race. And it's just, this is a whole new world to us. So we got ready for that race, and we had a couple guys who wanted to come down to Florida and help us race. Matt Graham and Donnie Macy, I think is how you pronounce his last name. And then my buddy here, Matt Knoll from Hope Sound, and we were the 4-person crew for that race. And speaking of those guys, I think Ira here, I think it's the same boat that Ira was on. Arate is a Orma 60, and that's what Matt and Donnie usually sail on up in the Great Lakes. So they were amazing to have down here for that race. But basically, we Sierra helped me launch the boat in Fort Lauderdale. We put it in a dock slip, Pier 66 over there, and then I drove our whole rig down with the trailer to Key West, flew back up to Lauderdale. We did the race, and then long story short, I got the rig, picked up the boat, and drove back up to Jupiter. But it was a super light wind race. We actually were not even close to making the cutoff, so we didn't finish the race. We had to dip into Islamorada. The forecast was just, it was terrible. The beginning of the race was fun. It was a great experience still. And yeah, we had a great time, but we weren't going to finish. So we turned off, we got ready, and we actually just went off snorkeling the next day, and had some fun on the boat,
But you learned a lot from those guys, definitely.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have traded that. I would do it again, even though we weren't finishing, I would definitely have done it again.
And I let Billy go off with his whole crew. I'm definitely more of a cruiser than a racer, but maybe someday.
But I think it was the perfect, it was actually the perfect scenario to kind of show me even like what this boat was meant for. And I think that's just a mix of cruising and racing and performance. So we got to, when I went to pick up my rig back in Key West, we got to see a Sea Cart 30, which is a boat I wasn't familiar with, but Tim, forget his last name, Brighton, something like that. He owns that boat, and he gave me a whole tour of it. That's gonna be on one of our channels soon. But it was so cool to see what the extreme end of a racing trimaran of similar size to the 880 is, and why like a Corsair is kind of a compromise to that. You can fold up the Corsairs, put them on a trailer, and then they're versatile enough to cruise with. So it was cool to see the extreme end of that, and why that is not a good boat for just straight up cruising. But it was a really neat boat to check out. So what are we doing next with this boat?
So like Billy mentioned, we're going to do the Florida Loop, which, as he said, cross through the locks in Lake Okeechobee to the West Coast. And we've never sailed on the West Coast of Florida before, so that will be interesting and fun. I think we'll see some new stuff. And then we really want to go all the way down to the Dry Tortugas again. Really clear water, good diving, all the things we love to do. And I think we can get some really cool footage with the Corsair. So that will be great. And then back up the East Coast, hitting some new spots. Hopefully, we've done that coast quite a few times, but there's always something new. And then our plan is to load it back up on the trailer and get on the road again and go somewhere we haven't been. I think we'll try to do like the panhandle of Florida. Maybe some in Texas, and we really want to get over to California. We're going to give the boat back in May, I believe, and then we'll have some time before the new boat's delivered. So we really want to go up and see you guys, and I've been wanting to visit the San Juan Islands forever. So hopefully that will be possible this coming year.
So you guys, go ahead. I was just gonna say, if you guys cruise a lot, you know that you shouldn't really make a schedule. So we're trying to just be very flexible with what we're gonna do. That's the general plan. If we get to do all of it, that would be fantastic. And if not, we'll still have fun. So anyway, that's I guess the gist of it. And I know that Francois was on here last time you guys had this meeting, and I'm sure he went over a ton of technical stuff about the boat, which is kind of why we didn't go over anything technical, but we're happy to answer anything about the boat, that you guys would like to know. And yeah, like I said, we have a ton of videos on it already on our YouTube channel. So we actually just posted today. We have a whole boat tour, like basically a whole walkthrough of the whole boat. But today we just posted another boat tour where it's like much more technical. I think we hit basically every little system and hatch and everything that's on the boat. One thing I did leave out of that is the pump out thing that's in the anchor locker. But anyway, that's there if you guys want to see it. But did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, one of our most common questions we've been getting about this boat is how long do you think you can live on it? And I think it totally depends who you are. We are pretty simple and minimalistic and have lived on various types of boats. So for us, I think we could definitely do 2 weeks, and this whole Florida loop will be around a month. So we will let everybody know after that. But I think we'll be fine. The only thing that's really different for us is we don't have an oven. We only have the alcohol stove. So that will make cooking and like living on it full time a little bit different. We have the refrigerator. We have a little dinghy right now. It's like a little roll up so we can get jetty to shore and we can go snorkel and whatever. But what do you think? You think you can do a month?
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
What do you think the average person like?
Nice to know.
You can do it. I mean, I grew up on a 24 and a 26, parents and 2 kids, and we'd be gone for 4 weeks. It's.
I think it's one of those things you have to ask, you can't do it.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Right. If you're questioning it.
That should be a good response when we get that question.
Which bunk have you found to be the more accommodating? I know the forward V berth is quite narrow and small, but that aft berth doesn't seem so bad. Would you say that you guys are all pretty comfortable in that boat?
Yeah.
We haven't tried to stay in the V berth yet. But we have stayed in that. Yes, we've stayed in the aft bunk and it's been fine for us. I think we're kind of short, generally, compared to average. I'm 5'8", Sierra's 5'4", but we have broad shoulders, so sleeping together sometimes when it's hot out, sometimes we turn, so we'll go foot to head if it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. But with that, it's been fine. And it's really nice having the opening hatch in the cockpit like right over our heads, for ventilation.
One thing that came to my mind, it seems, if I recall correctly, it has a different head setup and like in a hatch in the V berth. How's that working out for you?
So for us, it's been fine. The only thing that I could see being a problem is if we did have guests and they're sleeping right in there and someone has to go to the bathroom, like that could be an issue. But for just the 2 of us, like it pulls out, it goes back in, and it's easy.
Yeah. It hasn't been an issue with just the 2 of us at all.
Depends how comfortable you are with the people you're with.
Exactly. Yeah. When we cruise, it's the 4, my wife and I and 2 kids, and we just leave the door to the head off, actually, because once we don't have a aft cabin, it's a aft cockpit, so we turn the salon into a bed, right? So you have the V berth and that bed, but when you make the bed, you can't open the head door, so we just take it off.
But some people you just use a bucket too, just to keep way simpler, But for 2 people on that boat, using that head how it is, like that's been completely fine. Yeah. And just so you guys know, we do have like a whole album of images here. When we were in Wareham, Billy Black, famous boat photographer, came and took a bunch of pictures. So if you guys want to see anything specific as we talk about answer questions, we can pull up those pictures.
Can I ask you a question about your new boat that's on order? Because I have a friend who wanted to get an 1160 light, but found out she'd have to wait a year to get one shipped from Vietnam. So she ended up
at least a year now.
Yeah, this was about April, May last year.
Yeah.
So she ended up buying a secondhand 1160 Deluxe. But what I was wondering is, why did you choose the 1160 light over the 1190? Because with the boards in the 1190, probably way better windward performance.
It was a hard decision. I think, price is one thing, of course. And from everyone we've talked to with experience with either the 1160 light, by itself or both of them, the difference isn't huge. Like everyone who's had 1160 light that we've talked to has been extremely satisfied with the performance. Our boat right now is an older performance boat, so we have boards and everything, and I
Which
think
one?
that it's a Crowther Spindrift.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so so in my mind, I think that, you know, if the 1160 Lite performs as well or better than that boat, I'm going to be happy. Our boat, even with boards, doesn't go to windward super well. I think it's a little more to do with the sheeting angle of the Genoa.
Yeah.
So I bet the 1190 would go to windward at better angles than our boat would. But, you know, if the 1160 Lite was similar, then I'd be fine with that. And this even, like, we're not going to be racing the boat. I don't think Sierra's going to let us.
I am cruisers,
well,
so that means Billy's a cruiser.
We'll do it for fun once in a while, I bet. But and then after being on this boat for 3 years and dealing with the boards and, you know, really tweaking everything, trying to maximize the potential of the boat, I wanted to gear down a little bit and just simplai. So
Simple is better, yeah, for us, for sure.
I think just experiment with
different down there, but where we up here, the prevailing winds you're either going upwind or downwind, very rarely on a reach. So wind performance, I guess, more important in the northwest.
Definitely, and that was one of our other considerations. I think, you know, I think our plan for the next 3, 4, 5 years is basically, you know, we're going to take it very slow. We're not crossing the Pacific anytime soon, but Jesse, but yeah. So our plan is to go with the wind, basically.
Good deal. What are some of the equipment that you're choosing for that new 1160 Lite? Are you going with the outboards, the diesels? Are you maximizing your sails? Are you trying to make it more battery, no genset? Or are you going all, are you going to put a genset on board for a tank compressor? What does your outfitting look like?
So
Simple is better.
yeah, well, a lot of it, I gotta say, is still kind of undecided, or we kind of decided on the more minimal side of things with, you know, the option to upgrade. But that being said, we're definitely going to try to maximize solar. Go with the, I think it's 8, you know, instead of 600 or so watts, it's 800 or so 100 watts. And definitely a lithium bank. I'm just sold on lithium. The engines, I am so torn. We're committed to doing outboards, but we still have the option to upgrade to diesels. I know that the only thing that kills me about having a lithium bank and going with the outboards is just that you're not taking advantage of, you know, the charging capacity that the lithiums can handle, that the inboards could give them with a big alternator.
That's true.
So,
that is true.
You know, I see the pros and cons of both. We want to do a whole video just of all those pros and cons. But yeah, so for that, we're undecided. Sails, we're definitely going to go with, as of right now, we're just going to go with the cruising Dacron sails, but not the Genoa. We'll go with the jib and Screecher and Spinnaker.
Excellent. Nice outfitting. And one of the questions that just came in, from, I believe it was Gina. She was asking if you ever considered going with the Torpedos, which I've also researched these on builds. The Torpedo Cruise XL would be the size that would be possible. Have you ever given that any thought of stepping into the green energy side of things?
Yeah, we've given it thought, not necessarily on this boat, because you know, I just wasn't aware that it would be such a viable option unless we really got our hands dirty and did it ourselves. But are there a lot of 1160s out there with the Torpedos on them already?
We're trying it. We're going to be trying it in an upcoming build where we're going to option out the Torpedoes. So we're just going with the light standards, and we're going to bring those in and use the battery bank that's recommended. So far, in my experience with the Torpedoes, I haven't been able to get more than about 4 hours of, you know, moderate cruising speed with any of them, which is typically about 5 to 6 knots. And then the whole bank has to be recharged again. And that can make it tough to cruise.
Yeah, if you have to carry a generator in order to charge it, you're kind of your weight kind of gets up there after a while.
Oh, gosh, this is stupid. What was that, Billy?
What kind of bank is that? What is it? Lithium, and how many amp hours?
It is. You know what? I'll send you the specs for the most recent one that we had. We were looking at 1190 spec. And the idea behind this particular boat is they are going to be coming back and charging it almost all the time.
Mhm.
So they're interested in trying it out. Yeah, I'd be happy to share it with you just so you can kind of kick the idea. I certainly don't see anything wrong with a Torpedo outboard. That's been very common so far with the OC tenders. So
Yeah, we have some experience with the Torpedo outboard, the Travel 1103. We've used it in the past, and we actually just got one again for this roll up that Sierra just mentioned. They're
cool.
great, and they're more quiet than ever. Like the last one, it wasn't noisy, but it had a little hum to it. This one is silent. So
I just saw that someone wanted to know where we're gonna store that dinghy, and honestly, we haven't even tried yet, but probably for the most part on the trampoline, I would think.
yeah,
right?
probably just cruising upside down on the tramps. We're not going anywhere super far. The farthest we will be going is probably the Dry Tortugas. That's the furthest offshore. That's 70 miles from Key West. So we'll just pick our weather, and I don't see it being a problem. But worst case scenario, we can just roll it up and throw it up in the head or something like that.
And then with the same question, they wanted to know what other toys we're going to bring. And that is a hard one. We definitely will bring all of our free diving gear, all of our spear fishing gear. I don't know, are we going to bring fishing poles and that maybe a hand line?
It's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where are we going to store it all?
Yeah. I don't know. And kite gear.
Yeah.
Luckily, all that is relatively light besides the weights, but it does add up. But I'm sure all you guys know.
So there is for kite gear, there is quite a lot of storage on the shelving in the aft bunk. So maybe kite gear
Or in
can
the
go
floats.
up there.
I mean, the floats have quite a bit of storage.
So yeah.
Yeah. When is your boat anticipated to be delivered, the Seawind, and where are you planning on taking delivery?
Oh man.
Great question.
Yeah, good question. It's up in the air right now. It was supposed to be, I can't say a certain date, but it's been getting delayed, a lot having to do with COVID, and as of right now, it's still kind of up in the air. We're probably going to be taking delivery on the east coast of the U.S. We've entertained the idea of taking delivery somewhere else, like I don't know if we can specifically in Vietnam or maybe Thailand, or at least going over there and trying to work that out. But I don't think it's feasible for us, especially with our dog Jetty. As of right now, it's probably somewhere on the East Coast, somewhere between New England and Florida.
A while ago, there was a question on the
very good. Well, if it comes up closer to the springtime.
You froze, Scott.
I think it's up to you, Don.
Okay. So a while ago on the chat, Andrew Inglis asked whether you can raise the mast single-handed.
We haven't tried, and I did see that question once before, and I kind of thought about it, but not super hard. You guys could probably answer that if you guys are familiar with Corsairs. I know Ira's here.
I raised hole number 1 by myself. It can easily be done while on the water, even.
I do it all the
is
time.
quite light. Yeah.
All the time. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Make sure you have everything set up, though.
It freaks you out.
And you just let the shrouds balance it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
No, the temporary jumpers take care of that. Does the 880 have the same system? I don't know. Where's Ira? Same as the old. Yeah, they do. Yeah. So I mean
the mini shrouds, right?
Yeah, the mini ones. There's little temporary. Yeah, they do. They keep things in line. I mean, I do make sure that there's not a huge crosswind, and I make sure that there aren't a bunch of power boats taking off, because I usually lift mine in the water unfolded. But it's not hard. I mean, it takes me. Well, I was going to ask you guys this too, because when I launch, it's usually takes me 2 hours, and that's from driving up to the dock to actually leaving in the boat, which means unpacking and packing and all that stuff. Is that what you guys are seeing, or are you faster than that?
It's taking us, I think, usually Billy will tell you less, but right around an hour and 45 minutes. But it's a little different than for us because
because we're towing it behind our camper, and our camper's so tall, we have been disconnecting the forestay, just so that we can slide it aft of the boat, and so it's not hanging off the mast too much and hitting the camper. Although when we're traveling locally, we just keep it attached and we slide the mast back a bit further, and we have more overhang, so it's much quicker. That's like a 30-minute process
because we have to like unhook the truck from the trailer and then bring the truck around, and then you climb up on it, and
just so we don't have to carry a whole nother ladder for that.
Yeah,
probably about the same. Is that you doing it solo?
Yeah, I mean, the same program. I do it solo, but the only difference for me is that I usually don't raise the mast on the hard. I go ahead and launch, raise the mast on the water after the floats are out. So, just,
how come?
Less things for me to worry about, really. I mean,
you won't
figure
fall off the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I have, they will. I unfold it a lot in the backyard. So, right. And I know that if you unfold it and you forget to put the board, I usually put a sawhorse with a board to the trailer. If you forget to do that, the boat will, it'll roll. The float will hit the ground. But whether that's my trailer or not, I don't know. But I don't know. I just do it for peace of mind. I mean, I have enough, you have enough to worry about. Just put it in. Everything's super stable.
And do you use it 2-to-1 when you're doing that on the water?
Yeah, 2-to-1 on the hoist, right? And I usually double up I'm sure Ira's this old hat for those guys, but I usually double up, and it's the jib and the screecher halyard that I usually use. Just put those both on the 2-to-1. That's a dedicated 2-to-1 that I use just for lifting. And the only thing that I think is personally nerve-wracking is that if I don't have, sometimes I'm too lazy to undo the cap shrouds. I just leave the cap shroud set, and that last like 6 inches when you have to bring the clevis down to the pin. It's just there's a lot of tension on there. And again, mine's not a production boat, so it may be a little softer. It's hard to say, but when it's on the trailer, I'm convinced that you actually sail it for a season. I think those floats actually come up a little bit, like maybe a couple inches. But there's a noticeable shift in the rig tension between putting in the water and taking it out.
Right. And so our boat actually has high field levers on the shrouds. The sport version, I don't believe, does come with high field levers, but this boat does. So you could do it on the water, have those high field levers loose, and although you don't need to like you're doing, but you could do it that way and have them loose and then attach the forestay and then re-tighten the high field levers.
That must be a model difference. Mine's a 9R and I don't have high field levers. The geometry is such that it pretty much all kind of works out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has any other experience with that, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have experience with the other boats, but from what I've seen, I haven't seen them anywhere else. And yeah, like I said, the other version of the 880, the sport version, doesn't have them either. But
28R used to have them. They worked real well in the 28R, and you could do exactly what you're talking about. Just loosen them up, lift the mast, then tighten them back up, and it worked fine.
All of the Corsair 31s with rotating masts had high field levers. The fixed mast didn't. And you had to disconnect the cap shrouds like on an F-27 to fold up the older 31s.
Gotcha.
And if truth be told, I am not a fan of raising the mast on the water.
Really? How come?
No, because I don't like standing underneath it. I find that to be dangerous. If it
when do you stand? When do you stand underneath it?
When you think that when you're standing in the cockpit, straddling the coaming, or even next to the on the nets, cranking the winch to raise the mast, if something goes wrong and it goes the wrong way, You may think you could jump out of the way, but I doubt it.
You know, another way of raising, in which case I picked up from when we were dealing with the Pulse and the 760, was taking the main sheet, extending that out since there's always such a long tail to there, connecting that over with a, say, the spinnaker halyard onto the pickle fork. And then that way you could be up at the bow and using that several, what is it, about 6 or 8 perches to bring up the mainsail, or the, I'm sorry, not the mainsail, the mast to the boat. We've done that before as well, and it's been quite successful if you are concerned about being out of the way. I got to side with Jeff Oakleaf on this one. My scariest thing about hauling the mast up while you're on the trailer is when you fall off a boat while it's on the water. You know, it's not so bad. You don't have to worry about the arm is already extended out as well. You just fall right into the water in lieu of falling about 7 or 8 feet onto the concrete. But and then again, that was the way he taught me, so I kind of have to side with that.
I don't know. Ira has me worried now. I'm gonna every time I raise it now, I'm gonna be thinking about that.
So I put on 2 lines for that reason, one on each winch. So you always has safety to catch.
Yeah, and it is true. When I have help, I actually have a person on each cap shroud. So just with the theory that if something does happen, they
so
it's
to your point,
coming
Jeff,
down in the middle.
I hook up 2 of the halyards, the screecher and the spinnaker and the jib or whatever to one, and then the 3rd halyard to another one. So I've got
and the other thing,
triple redundancy with 3 halyards.
When comes by, the system is really not designed to handle the shock loads of the boat rocking back and forth with the mast part way up. That's not how Ian designed it. Ian designed it for a static situation on the trailer.
So I think I started most of it because I was launching up in Anacortes off the crane. The only way you could, you couldn't put the mast in the water on the crane with the the mast upset. For 10+ years, forced me to do it on the water.
Each to their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do understand that comment about the side loads though, and that has crossed my mind. You keep you always wonder if a powerboat's going to swing by while you're halfway up, and that is a concern.
Hey Billy, I'm watching your technical video. It's and Sierra. I'm watching your technical video that you guys made. I was curious, did you guys get to assist in the commissioning as well?
No, Ira and Bob had it pretty well put together when we were there. We did a few little modifications to the trailer and just to make it work with our camper rig, and just kind of learned while we were working out the tweaking the boat, I guess. I'm trying to think, nothing major. Everything was pretty much done.
Yeah,
right?
they had handled pretty much everything already. Just the trailer was really the main thing. But yeah.
What was the biggest surprise for being already so experienced on cats, and you've really climbed the ladder through all the boats at this point, and now you get into a trimaran? What was the biggest surprise that you had found from a trimaran that really separated it from the experiences that you had sailing other boats?
How fast it goes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we have 3 years on that cat, but full time. We were living on it full time. But I have to check myself sometimes because I know you guys have years and years and years more experience in that. But yeah, the difference getting on this trimaran. First off, how it's rigged, because our cat is conventionally rigged with a masthead rig and a big Genoa, so conventional sheeting there. So getting on this Corsair with the self-tacking jib, and just everything was just really simple and easy to sail. But then the speed, it's still we're still new to it, but every time it's so surprising. It's been a blast. It freaks Sierra out a little bit in the beginning, but she's getting used to it.
Still getting used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. Well, great. Well, it's I know it's getting late for you guys out there. Sure don't want to keep you all too long. So would you be okay with taking a few more questions from our audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Throw them our way.
Excellent.
I'm curious, when you do the southern half of Florida and then cut across Lake Okeechobee in the middle, are you going to need to take your mast down quite a few times for bridges and so on?
So I don't think so. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure, what's our mast height?
It's the mast itself is 40 foot, so it's probably like 40 something above the water. I probably knows.
And I think the
46 or
smallest, the shortest bridge was 54. I could be wrong.
No, there's one set of power lines or one bridge that's a little
50?
bit shorter than normal. Like our cat wouldn't have gotten under it.
Yeah, but
I
normal
don't
is
think.
64, so 54. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll have to. We're gonna be double checking, before we go through it, of course. But if there is one, it's not like we would have to take the mast all the way down. I talked to Bob Gleason about this, and he has done it before, where he just kind of tilts it back a bit just to get onto the bridge, and then puts it right back up there. So we don't plan on bringing that rear mast stand or anything.
How wide are the
I
locks?
heard that Florida was so flat. I'm surprised there is that much clearance under the bridges.
Yeah, all the ICW bridges in Florida are 65 feet, 64 feet. And then on that waterway as well, I think it is all 64 foot or a Baskel bridge, except for that one set of power lines or that one shorter bridge, which, like Sierra said, is I think only 50, 55 or something.
And there might be a lock that we have to pull one of the floats in, but I'm not completely sure. But if we do, it's simple enough that we'll just do it while we wait.
Someone here in the chat's asking how fast does the 880 go with the 9.9 wide open? So we've been cruising with the 9.9 at 6 to 6.5 knots, and that's at like probably 2/3 or 3/4 throttle. And then with it wide open, probably goes 7 knots. I don't think we've seen much above 7 knots with the engine wide open.
That's interesting because I have a 44-foot trimaran, which is overloaded because I live aboard. She's about 4 inches deeper in the water. And I have two 9.9s, but generally only cruise on one. And that's the same maximum speed I get on a much larger, heavier boat.
That's in, yeah, but you got the water line. That's really interesting though. When we were on our trawler, it was an old marine trader, 34 foot, and it had a 120 horsepower Ford Lehman engine. And we talked to someone who had a 36 or a 38 marine trader with the same exact engine, and just that length alone, they were able to cruise at a knot faster than us, just with that waterline length. So I wonder if it's the same for you. You just have that waterline length. You're not driving that bow wave.
But he's saying he goes the same speed as us. Wouldn't you think he would go faster?
Well, with the same engine and a heavier boat. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys.
And with both of them flat out, I only get about 8 knots, so I don't generally bother. I only use both of them for maneuvering in close quarters.
Are they both on the main hull?
No, they're either side of they're mounted on the Aukas. They hinge down on hinged mounts from the Aukas, about 3 feet either side of the main hull.
And so when you do use both of them, you have some pretty good maneuverability with that space between them, huh?
Oh yeah, one forward, one reverse. I can spin it in its own lengths.
That's awesome.
But I only generally do that for docking, for cruising, unless I have to really buck a headwind. And I should be sailing in conditions like that anyway. So.
Mark wants to know, do we launch our kiteboarding kites from the Trimaran? We haven't tried yet, but Billy's done it many, many times on our catamaran, so I don't see why not. That will probably be the first way we do it, right?
Yeah. It's there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with kiting, or if he is, that's why he's asking. But it can be a little complicated to run the lines on a boat. But if you just go step by step, you can run your lines out, make sure they're not tangled, hook it up to the kite after it's inflated, hang it off the back of the boat, and then you can bring your lines forward, make sure they're not tangled, drift the kite out, and launch the kite right from the back of the boat. So yeah, we definitely will be doing that.
Any other questions?
Yeah. When you say extend the lines out to make sure they're not tangled, how can you do that when you're on a boat?
Generally just kind of running them in whatever like length you can get. I don't know. So on our cat, for example, I would start at the stern, and I'd run along the starboard side of the boat, around the front of the boat, but I'd hook the lines on the cleats on the front bows, and I just do basically the perimeter of the boat as I drop the lines. And then
Okay.
I would start from the bar. As I untangle the lines, I just follow that same path back around the perimeter, and then so I'm going through the lines, untangling them, but then as I pass by those cleats, I'm making sure they hook around those cleats again behind me, until I get to the end of the lines. So you look back, they might be all tangled, or they might look all tangled, but you went through the ends of those lines. So as long as you keep the ends of those lines in the correct order and you hook them up to the kite without changing the order of the ends of the lines, then your lines are not tangled, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll do it the same
Yeah,
way.
thanks.
Even if I have to do 2 lengths around, the triangle of the trimaran, same concept.
And I think we actually show that in a video.
Yeah, I don't know
in
if we show the whole process,
Saint- but at least seeing the lines around the boat and everything.
Yeah, kiting in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, like the Tobago Keys or Union Island, somewhere down there. We did it a bunch.
And new inflatable wings, no lines. You tried it once. I want to try. And Billy has that on the list of toys he wants to add to the collection. But one thing at a time. One thing at a time.
Yeah, so if you guys are not familiar with water sports, kiteboarding has a big kite in the air attached to these 22 meter lines. But they have this new thing that's basically a kite, but you just hold on to the kite itself. So it's like it's
Yeah.
almost bringing back to windsurfing a bit. And it's only really feasible with a hydrofoil, because once you get on foil, you have much less resistance on the water. I've seen it done on surfboards and stuff, but that requires a lot more power. But it'll be much simpler water sport to cruise with if you get it wired, although you need a hydrofoil board.
You need the wing and the hydrofoil. Let's see, what else? What type of drone do you recommend? So my favorite, it's the safest version, is the Phantom 3, the DJI. We've lately been using the Mavic Air. However, it's super small and you can bring it wherever you want, but launching and landing from the boat is a little scary, especially for the person that catches it. But the Phantom 3 standard, we got it for like $500 maybe like 5 years ago, and it's been our favorite drone. It has the feet where you can hold on to and launch and land super easy. I don't know if you can still buy them, but
Yeah, I don't know if you can, but those Phantoms are, with the legs underneath, are way easier to catch, launch and land from the boat, and they have more power and more battery life. Our little Mavic Air is a little tougher because you got to like grab underneath the body, and sometimes you clip your fingers on the props when you're doing that, or you can fumble it. And then the only other thing to watch out for if you're launching or flying a drone from a boat, even when you're launching, I would just turn obstacle avoidance off, because we've had a lot of times where we're trying to fly the drone back to the boat and land it on the boat, and the drone doesn't quite want to come to where I am to catch it to land it, because it detects the shroud or the mast or something nearby, and it won't let me go any further. So turn the obstacle avoidance off, and then you can come and land it. I also don't ever recommend launching or landing from the deck of a boat either, because the drone with its GPS, it just, like, as soon as it starts to come in the air, it wants to stay in that position, and the boat's always moving. So you might have the drone come up off the deck just a few inches, and the boat rocks or comes up with a swell and hits it, and clips the wing. And one of our buddies in that hydrofoil video that we did, he lost a drone for that very reason.
So we normally, like with the Phantom, I'll hold it and Billy will launch it, and with the Mavic Air, you just hold it in your hand, right, and raise it. Yeah.
I do recall seeing an ad from one a year or so ago that actually could land on water, but I've totally lost the link to it, so I have no idea what it was.
Yeah, I've seen some of that here and there, but nothing that's
Been staying around.
Yeah, I don't know, but I have seen it. I don't know much about them.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Like, if they work really, really well, you might
Hearing about them more.
Yeah.
I saw this question come up twice. Where do you find which space do you find more comfortable, truck camper or the 880? I think it depends. Like, we have found that we are boat people and we prefer to be on the water, so we prefer it. Which is more comfortable? I don't know. It's easier to like cook in the truck camper because we have the oven and the stove and the like a bigger refrigerator. But what would you say?
In nice weather, it's so nice to be on that boat and just laying out. You have all the outside room you need, and you can get where other people aren't. So I really like that. That's what we miss about cruising full time, I think. Someone was mentioning the ratings for this boat, I think, and this is a whole new world to me as well. We had to get this boat rated for the Key West race, and it was through the rating was through Ira, do you remember? I was asking Bob about it. It's the UK organization for multi-hulls. Anyone know? Anyway, there is a rating for the boat now. Yeah, go ahead, Ira.
No, I don't know what they rated it at.
Okay. Well, do you know the organization?
MOCRA?
Yeah, MOCRA.
Midget Ocean Racing?
Yeah. So we do have a rating for it now through MOCRA, and it's like 1 point something. I could get the exact number if any of you guys want it. And that's what's that?
The time correction factor for time on, as opposed to the standard PHRF, what most people think of as in time on distance per second.
Okay. And yeah, to give, I don't know if it helps at all, but there was a 970 in that Key West race, and I think I don't know if it was the cruise or the sport version. Tom Reese or Mike Reese?
Tom Reese, the sport version.
Okay, so I think that boat owed us 30 minutes based on our ratings. I don't know how accurate they are. For the rating for this 880, they took the manufacturer's weight, not an actual weight, just because we didn't have it yet. So there's probably a lot of little things like that need to be worked out. And we owed Larry something with the 1190 down here in Florida.
Larry Geller. We owed him 30 minutes according to those ratings. Mm-hmm.
And that race is 160 miles.
Is Larry the one with the big 60 horsepower outboards? It's a gray hull.
No.
It was white.
It was white, and I think the boat's name is
Catamaran. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. All right. There was one in Florida a couple of years ago, and they modified the outboards to be like 260 horsepower, so you can actually wakeboard behind it while it's under motor.
I heard about that. Yeah.
You see it playing when it takes off. It's quite hilarious. I was just wondering. I didn't realize there was other 1190s out there. That's cool.
I always wanted a McGregor with Amos.
A McGregor with Amos? I think they make one. It's called a Gemini.
Not the McGregor 36?
No.
Catamaran?
Is there a McGregor 36 cat?
Yeah. Made by the same people who
Didn't know that.
Once upon a time, it was made by the same people who made, the McGregor 25 and now the McGregor 26. And
the McGregor 26X out of Southern Cal. Yeah.
Big McGregor 65.
I saw the McGregor 65. We have one here in Seattle, believe it or not. But it basically it's just a big stretch 26.
Pretty lightly built.
Ugly,
It looks
ugly
like
boat.
Pretty fast performing boat.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy one.
Careful now,
No.
Scott, because Jim used to own a Mac 65.
Hey, I'm just saying I wouldn't. All right, but there's a lot of things that I'm sure he wouldn't do that I would. So
I sailed one on the Baja Haha, and it was a lot of fun. It went real fast.
was it?
Yeah.
Cool. So
Got a question about a
Well-
boom tent in the chat.
Yeah, we're not planning on doing a boom tent. I don't know. Maybe we'll come up with something kind of that'll work for us as we use the boat. But I think
We shouldn't be in. We're in Florida, but it is still winter, springtime here, so it is pretty cool.
and dry, like if it rains.
Yeah, and we're only keeping it until May, and then we hand it back. So I don't think we will, but maybe the next owner will.
Well, I think they were talking about, so they up with the multi-hull source in Wareham, they had a Dodger put on the boat by Harding Sales, and I think Corsair and the possible buyer for this boat, they were talking about doing a bimini as well. I don't know if that's being done or how it's going to be done or anything like that, but yeah, that's as far as I know. But maybe we will come up with some sort of boom tent for while we do have the boat.
And I think there was one last question about our dog. Does she sleep inside? How many times do we take her to shore? And does she pee on the net?
She does pee on the net. She got some practice on that.
Yeah, so she's been on boats with us for the entire time, and she only started peeing on the net, like 2 years ago on the cat when we were going multiple days offshore. So she's finally comfortable with that. She does sleep inside, and we like to live on the boat, but we also like to get off the boat and go see the places that we're at. So we get off multiple times a day, and she usually comes with us every single time.
How's the dog hair build up inside the boat?
She doesn't shed too bad.
It's not compared to most dogs, but it does build out, like, especially in our this boat's nice because there's no like
secret like little
like cracks, like where
anything.
there's boards covering the bilge area. Like in our cat there's like big cracks where the boards are that cover the bilge area, so I'm constantly cleaning that hair out. This we'll be able to see the hair right away and just scoop it up. Gary Sager posted a bunch of information here in the chat if you guys are interested in those ratings or the Key West results or anything like that. So
all right. Well, if there's no other questions, am I on mute still? I don't know sometimes. No, I'm not. All right. All right. Very good. Well, Billy, Sierra, I can't thank you enough for making the time this evening to jump on board with us all the way here on the West Coast and share the story about your 880. It pairs in just so perfectly with our last meeting as well. Plus, it's just so much fun to watch you guys and hear about your upcoming adventures. So
thank you so much for having us, and we can't wait to come visit you guys someday, hopefully very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an 880 actually arriving out here at the end of the year, as well as a 760. We just got the 1600 in. I have an 1190. So whenever you guys are eager to come out here, we'll find you a boat, and so you can get out to the San Juan Islands as you've been dreaming of.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here.
And if you guys have any questions or anything on this boat, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to do our best to answer them.
Yep. And tell your friends, go smash that subscribe button on the Tula's Endless Summer. Keep these folks out there sailing, and let's look forward to chatting with you next time.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm gonna stop recording here, and anyone who wants to can continue hanging out and talking some more.